We are privileged to have with us today Professor Al Fuertes. Dr. Fuertes is a teacher for the 21st century. Based out of New Century College at George Mason University, just up the street, Dr. Fuertes travels the world to practice, write, and teach about community-based trauma healing as an integral component of peace building and conflict transformation. He has worked in conflict zones and disaster zones, particularly in the Philippines, Cambodia, and Burma. He regularly deals with government, military, religious, and community leaders in these countries, as well as non-governmental organization development workers, school administrators, teachers, youth, refugees, and internally displaced persons. Not only is he an award-winning professor who receives accolades from his students, he is also a widely published author and an ordained minister with the United Church of Christ in the Philippines. He brings the refreshing perspective to our timely discussion today of someone who not only talks the talk, but walks the walk. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Al Fuertes.
This is my stage. Thank you so much. Wow. When Margaret Fisher was reading all the descriptions of your peace projects, I was having goosebumps. And I think we all deserve the warmest round of applause at this point. And to all the respective teachers, school administrators who have been very supportive of the ideals, the aspirations, and advocacies of our young people, congratulations as well. And to the respective families of our recipients, I think you too play a significant and crucial role in the progress, development, and success of our young people. Thank you. I would like to extend my sincerest thanks at this point to Paul Morphy, who first got a hold of me and extended to me invites, and Margaret Fisher. When I was on my way here, I just thought of, okay, I'll be sharing with you my work in different countries around the world. And I have pictures as well to prove it and to bring home the point. But then as I entered this place and seeing all the different faces of the recipients, it started to become personal to me. Why? Because when I was in high school, I could really remember vividly what you guys are going through right now. Your aspirations, I see myself in each one of you. But how to sustain it? Because we really don't know what happens the year after this. How to sustain it, how to develop it, and how to enrich and enhance it further, that's a different topic. That's a different level of conversation. That's why I've been telling people, please continue what you have started. Sustain it. Find ways to be able to harness it. Because I do believe that if only all the young people around the world, high school students for that matter, have these two things, proper tools and the opportunity, they would be able to really blossom. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. As Margaret was reading the different citations and descriptions of your peace projects, my mind just wandered into all the corners of the world. And as you guys were coming off the stage and receiving your book and your certificate and the cash prize, my mind goes back to the young people I have met, the young people who have taught me about life, about resilience in different refugee camps around the world, in East and Central Africa. Hundreds and thousands of out-of-school youth that I have worked with, parents who have these dreams and aspirations for their children and young people your age telling me, when I grow up, I want to become an engineer, and when I grow up, I want to become a doctor, I want to become a teacher, but knowing fully well that they don't have opportunity to be able to achieve their dreams and aspirations unless they're able to find organizations that would support them throughout their college years. That's why I think your awards this afternoon are both an honor, at the same time, it's a responsibility. The fact that you are being chosen and you are being awarded this citation also entails a sense of accountability, a sense of responsibility. Because there are tens and thousands of young people all over the world your age just don't have the opportunity like what many of you here are just enjoying. And I'm basically bringing in my practice right now. For those of you who plan to go to George Mason, sooner or later, I hope I will see you in some of the courses that I teach. Just make your hours bigger during the Student Peace Awards. At George Mason, I teach several courses, and all of these courses are based on my practice. I teach a course, a 3-credit course on human trafficking and international community. I teach a course on refugee, internal displacement, and statelessness. I have worked in several displaced populations. I have lived in various refugee camps just to have that feel of what life is like inside a refugee camp. I also teach a 6-credit course on spirituality and conflict transformation, a 6-credit course on conflict, trauma, and healing, narratives of identity, and a couple more. The reason why I'm sharing this with you is because these are very much part of what I do in the world. But in terms of what brought me to where I am today, that's a different story. And let me start my presentation with a very simple story. But during that time, I did not know that that was already what was in store for me. When I was in 3rd grade and 4th grade, every vacation time, there was no internet yet. And so don't ask me how old I am right now. Well, I will tell you later on. Come vacation time, I would borrow the globe from our school and bring it over to our place, to my house. And I have a notebook that contains the list of all the countries around the world, the populations at that time, and the capital cities. And I memorized all of them literally. What I didn't realize is that years later, I would be traveling all over the world, and that was just the beginning. And then I also happened to have teachers who serve as my mentor. That's very important. That's why, for each one of you here, find a way to identify a teacher who's gonna be mentoring you as well. A teacher who's gonna inspire you, who's gonna critique your work, who's gonna provide you with opportunities by which you can also harness your skills, your talents, and abilities, and also bring into fruition your dreams and aspirations. So, sorry, but you have to turn to your left. Peace is a reality. It's an active word. And this is my way to honor your peace projects. Since you have shared with your school, communities, classmates, your work, this afternoon, let me also share with you part of my work. At the bottom paragraph, it says, "Let us be peace to one another and to the world with an." Because I strongly believe that peace is not just something that's out there. Peace is not just something somewhere. We can actually be the peace that we want to see happening in the world. Resonates the statement of Mahatma Gandhi. Let us be the change we want to see in the world. In the same manner, I would also like to start my presentation by saying, let us be peace. Instead of just talking about ourselves as agents of peace, as channels of peace, perhaps we can be that peace. In terms of how we relate to one another, how we communicate, how we live out our lives, how we exemplify our dreams and aspirations. Okay. So, I would like each one of you, including parents who are here and teachers who are here, talk to the person sitting next to you. How would you complete that statement? Let's make this participatory or interactive. When I think of peace, or what images, events, or ideas come to mind when you hear the word peace? I would like to start from where you guys are. Instead of me telling you, this is what peace is, this is what... Each one of us has our own concept and understanding of peace. So what comes to mind when you hear the word peace?
Coexistence.
I'm sorry?
Coexistence.
Coexistence, there you go. Which transcends religious, cultural, any type of boundaries. What else? Okay, peace is education. That's a concrete description of peace.
Community.
Empathy, yes. Community is peace. Now, peace is something that transcends our sense of individualism, because we cannot really survive all by ourselves, right? How many of us, by the way, have heard of that South African term, Ubuntu? U-B-U-N-T-U. No? Ubuntu implies that my humanity is caught up in your humanity. I have to exist in order for you to exist. And for you to exist, I have to exist. And I think that's what exemplifies our sense of community. Some of us here may think, I can survive without the rest. That's not actually the case. We are interdependent. What else? Maybe a couple more. I would like to hear from this side here. Unity. Unity. And by the way, whenever we talk about unity, it transcends uniformity or sameness, right? Unity does not mean uniformity. Unity does not mean sameness. Just because the members in your group disagree doesn't mean you don't have unity. I have a feeling that some of us might have that kind of concept about unity. Unity is not about sameness, nor is it about uniformity. Unity is, given our differences, we are able to transcend and still come together and use our differences as a vehicle to achieve our common goal. Yes, thank you so much. Yes?
Cooperation.
Cooperation, very important. Two more. Yes? I'm sorry? Respect, okay? Compassion. Meditation. Okay, that's part of mindfulness. I do believe that if ever we want to be the peace in the world, let us start from within, right? That's very important. Okay. Communication. There you go. One more. Tolerance. Okay. Now, if I were to describe my dream or vision of a peaceful world, and I would like to address this to our recipients, what inspired you to develop the kind of peace project that you guys are doing? What exactly do you envision in the future? Or did you come up with a project just for the sake of having a project? Or is it just a vehicle to achieve something else?
I want all the people to get along with each other in the community.
Okay, and that is a peaceful world. Others? Yes.
I never want there to be someone to ever feel like they're alone, that they always have someone to count on.
Very important. Huh? Very important. You are not alone. For people who are going through so much, that is one of the most reassuring statement or word a person could hear. You are not alone.
I want everyone to respect each other no matter the differences.
Okay. I want everyone, by description of a peaceful world, is for everyone to respect each other, regardless or in light of their differences. And so the project that you are doing is a mechanism. No? It's just a means to achieve that. One more.
I want there to be more empathy in the human race and transcend boundaries of race, class, and really share our human bond.
Wow, thank you, thank you. What about from those in the second row? Any representative? This is your time. Yes, okay.
I think that all three of us, all the contributors for Mount Mirror, all of us joined and contributed as much as we could to the Mirror was because everybody in that school, which is a lot of open-minded people, can share their opinions on, peace, tolerance, discrimination, everything on that subject itself.
Wow, okay. Thank you. And what happens when people share and bring in their contributions? What usually happens? Huh? Okay. The community becomes rich. Okay. So, for me, when I hear the word peace, I think of the Student Peace Awards of Fairfax County. Seriously. Oh my God, this is just an ideal place to be in this place. Like what I said earlier, I was having goosebumps, guys. I was humbled. And I just said to myself, wow, we meant to make this international. I think the international community needs to know and needs to meet each one of you here and the previous and the future recipients of this program. The event that we are having right now, our coming together, to me, is a manifestation of peace. When I think of peace, I remember all the people I've met and worked with around the world who taught me so much about life and how to treat one another and the environment with dignity and respect. For 19 years now, I've been a practitioner in all over Southeast Asia, Northeast Asia, East and Central Africa, including Melanesia. And every community that I work with is different. So you could just imagine how privileged I am to be able to work with people from different social, cultural, historical backgrounds. But that's not always the case. Because whenever I travel, it's not always vacation. I travel to places that have been affected by conflict. I work with people who have been fighting against each other. I work with different warring groups and parties, military, rebel forces, coming together, wanting to give peace a chance. Wanting to answer the question, how can we address the effects of conflict, the impact of natural disaster in our lives and community. And then every time, whenever I return, I would share with my students at George Mason all the things that I've learned in the field. And students love it, because there's always the human face to all these issues. When I think of peace, I think of what many call negative peace, which is the absence of war or conflict. Cessation of wars and armed or violent conflicts. And peace for me also implies that there will be no more child soldiers. I work with many child soldiers in East and Central Africa and also in Southeast Asia. Cambodia, Burma, the Philippines. Right now we have more than 1 million child soldiers around the world. These are children as young as 8 years old, based on the UN definition of a child, 18 years younger, who have been recruited, and out of desperation to survive, many of them are involved in conflict. When I think of peace, I think of community and government leaders trying to address their problems in nonviolent ways. These are the people, the women, government leaders in Rwanda that I work with. The last time I was there was this past November. Trying to address their differences and the effects of the 1994 mass genocide. How many of you have heard of the terrible mass genocide that happened in Rwanda? Yes. Until today, the people continue to suffer from the far-reaching consequences. Of course, one thing I like about it is that they no longer really treat each other based on their ethnicities. No? Like you are Hutus, I'm Tutsis, they're just one. But somehow they have to find that niche by which they could come together. And then peace to me is those who used to be fighting and killing against each other will have time to acknowledge their differences and celebrate their diversity. That's the other picture there. A very humbling experience. Whenever I think of peace, I think of extending to children and young people their sense of self-worth and inspiring them to become agents and channels and builders of peace, like you guys here. On the left side, those are the children I work with in northern Sri Lanka. Many of them are Tamil. And then on the right, in Burma, and I have an ongoing work in Burma since 2003 until today. That's why when you guys were coming up here, my mind just went back to these children and young people. And so thank you for giving me the opportunity to remember. Whenever I think of peace, I think of providing children, regardless of economic status, opportunities to dream dreams. Those are the children in Smoky Mountain in Manila, Philippines, one of the largest landfills in the world. These children, they live on top of this trash, where all the trash all over Metro Manila, the capital city of the Philippines, are dumped. These people, they just don't, kind of scavenge. They live in this trash. And every summer I bring students to the Philippines in a study abroad program. It's a 6-credit course in 4 weeks. And for 2 days, we spend time with these children. And on the right picture there, we just ask the children, and many of them, to draw their dreams. What they want to become when they grow up. Instead of telling us, we wanted them to draw, and it's fascinating. When I think of peace, I think of facilitating mediation, a conflict resolution session and workshop with tribal leaders, military personnel, mayors, governors, ambassadors, and community leaders from Eastern Africa. Facilitating, empowering, enabling them to come up with a peace agreement. So, if you notice, there were more than 60 of these community and government leaders gathered in Nairobi for 1 full week, and I was facilitating the whole event. I learned a lot from them, the stories that they shared, their dreams, their aspirations of a better future. Whenever I think of peace, I think of countries having the will to break down walls that divide and separate them from one another. This picture is of the demilitarized zone, on the border between North Korea and South Korea. On the left side, that's South Korea. On the right side, that's North Korea. And I have an ongoing work with different non-government organizations, particularly for North Korean defectors, and the kind of pain that many of them suffer, the traumas. And instead, for countries to build bridges that will connect us to each other instead of walls that will separate us from one another. For many Karen refugees, these are minority groups, ethnic groups coming from Burma, that because of the ongoing war for around 40 years now, more than 1 million of their own populations are being displaced. For many current refugees that I have talked to and I lived in this household for more than a year on the border between Burma and Thailand. Peace for them means having food on their table. A very concrete description of peace. For the internally displaced persons in the Philippines, peace for them means being able to sleep at night without being hit by flying bullets because of war. And then going back to the Korean refugees, peace for many of them means family reunification. Because for many of them, when their villages were attacked, that was the last time they saw each other. Because they were running away into all directions. And many of them have not seen each other for years and years and years. And so whenever I talk to some of the children, very small children, I said, what does peace mean to you? Of course, with the help of a translator, they would say, peace means being able to find my brothers and my sisters. Can you imagine that? Whenever I talk to the parents, what does peace mean to you? They would say, peace means being able to find my children. So for many refugees, peace means family reunification. And then, peace means being able to go or go back to school. Because when the war broke out, many of their schools were also destroyed and damaged. In the case of the Philippines, many of the public schools were turned into evacuation centers where people have been displaced, were relocated temporarily. But in most cases, most of these temporary relocations ended up for years. Peace for many refugees means job for mom and dad so that we will have a family income. Very concrete, tangible ways of peace. And then every winter I bring students to Cambodia. It's a 3-credit course in 2 weeks on post-genocide, community development, and spirituality. Means, in this context, means learning from people of various living faiths, transcending religious and cultural boundaries in order to foster understanding and partnership. Sometimes we have to meet and live with the people we want to reach out, instead of just talking about it inside our classroom, right? It does make a difference when you really meet these people and spend time with them. And then, like what I have said earlier, every summer I also bring students to the Philippines. It's a 6-credit course in 4 weeks on human trafficking, environmental issues, and peace building. Peace means community immersion and engagement, plowing the field and the water with the water buffalo and rice planting. Because that's how we understand other cultures. Sometimes we have to go through the moment. And then the final slide, in terms of this material, peace means sustaining a clean and healthy environment. Those are my Mason students going to the Philippines and then doing dolphin watching and swimming with the dolphins and whale sharks. So, if there is one social problem that is affecting our country, let's just focus here in the United States or the world today that you would like to address as a high school student or find solution. Given your talents, skills, and resources, which social problem would that be? And how will you address it? I will just leave this to you as a question for now, but something for you to think about, okay? As a high school student, if you are given the opportunity to address just one specific social problem that is affecting our country, the United States of America, which social problem would that be? The slide says, I breathe in peace, I breathe out peace. A peaceful world begins within me. I am peace. But then the question is, how does that translate into actual way? So in summary, peace is encompassing, peace is interdisciplinary, it has strong economic, political, psychosocial, and educational components. Your different peace projects demonstrated it, just a variety of peace projects. And then peace also requires partnership and collaboration, and peace is about people and the world we live in. And finally, the words of Mahatma Gandhi, be the change you wish to see in the world. Thank you so much.